Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev. How's it going, sister?
It's going great. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. As we're recording this, it's Mother's Day. So, any big plans or anything to play off
No,
that for Mother's Day?
I am going to take some time to spend outside and probably just go for a walk. And I'll do my yoga and stuff because I love doing yoga lately. I go between yin yoga and kundalini yoga. So it's so fun. It's funny. We're getting ready to start this. I'm like, I have no idea, Spirit, what we're talking about today, but because I have no idea. But this kundalini stuff, like there's some gal that I found on YouTube, and it's some of the stuff that you would never have seen me do in the past because I wouldn't allow myself to be that free because God forbid if somebody saw me at home, you know what I mean? It's just some of the stuff that I think of. The dog saw me. I don't know what I think sometimes, like what this process is, but it's maybe not a matter of being seen. It's maybe not trying not to be seen or trying to contain that energy because we got in trouble. It's which also takes me right into there was a time I if I laid my arm or my leg across Freeman, I'd be like worried, is my leg too heavy? I'd worry about these things. He'd just like laugh at me and think, oh, you're silly. He would tell me that I'm silly. But then I heard myself telling my granddaughter because she's on me and she'd lean back, elbow in the breastplate bone and the the bosoms and everything. I'm like, you're getting too heavy. And then I realized that what I'm saying is like we pick up stuff in our lives that's so God, it's so minuscule, but we look at how far I took it. Because to me, that's exactly where it came from. It was for me to look at that. And it's not that my mom or whoever did anything wrong by saying that I was getting too heavy. I was getting heavy for their lap, but it didn't mean that I was too heavy. So it's like we interpret words, right? We interpret all these emotions and we if my granddaughter was picking up on my energy from it, she's going to pick up like, oh, she doesn't want me to be on her lap. I'm too heavy. It's all this other stuff. And then we could take that a whole new direction, right? Being heavy, like gaining weight because we're just too, it's just those. I'm trying, I say, because I'm like stopping myself because I don't want to continue on that conversation because our words create. And so it's like, oh, I start to give a reference so that someone can have a visual or an understanding. And it's like it's not whoever is listening is going to understand however they're going to comprehend anything. And it's not my works to try to make sure that everybody understands where I'm coming from. And anyone that's going to understand what I'm saying as we're going through this. Because I've got to pay attention to me. It's funny that we'll say things like God. Oh, well, but you might believe in such and such and such and such. Well, guess what? I believe in God. It's just that simple. I believe in Yahweh. I believe in Yeshua. I believe in, gosh, there's so many different names that I've heard recently. But it's just to be in the space unapologetically for being ourselves. And it's like, I feel like we're apologizing again in some sort of a fashion for the ways that we're using words or the things that we're thinking or saying. And it's like, we can't fully be ourselves without letting a lot of that stuff go, all of it. You just got to let all of it go, honestly. And it's not that we're doing anything wrong. It's just recognizing where we throw our own roadblocks up.
And it's I want to go back to the too heavy. That comes down also to the perspective, right? So from mom or grandma's perspective, you're too heavy for me. Yeah, like it's uncomfortable for me for you to be on my lap or putting your elbow in my body and those types of things where it doesn't come across that way with the words when the other person is receiving the words of, oh, I'm too heavy. And then that seed's planted and it's a subconscious thing. Whereas now when they look in the mirror, I'm too heavy comes up, or look how big I am, or I'm bigger than the other kids, right? All these stories start snowballing, and then the adulthood comes, and there's difficulty in reducing your size because this the programming hasn't been changed of I'm too heavy. And so I just want to explain that to the audience, that like this is where these things come from, our programming, how we're operating through our day-to-day life. You quote unquote shouldn't eat the ice cream, but you do it anyway, and then you beat yourself up over it, is to keep the programming alive of I'm too heavy, and so I'm going to keep contributing to that. And so it takes some time to or some skill set, mindset shifts to change that programming, change those seeds that have been planted, so that we're not focused on that anymore. And it's of course that's on an individual basis to change that programming. But I just wanted to bring that awareness to people, like you may not say it to a child it from a space of, oh my god, you're fat, get off me. It's the perspective of my body can't handle the weight that you're at now, but it doesn't come out that way, right? And how do you explain that to a child? Or I'm just not strong enough to carry you, you're too heavy, comes out of my mouth. But really it's I'm not strong enough to carry you. So it's just being our words, you definitely are right on when you say, our words create. And those, when our words, when we're speaking to children, are planting seeds in their subconscious mind, because they're at a time in their life where they're absorbing everything that they hear and see. And so if you don't know, like as the adult, if I don't know that that's happening, and I say you're too heavy, instead of saying, oh my goodness, I'm not strong enough to carry you or hold you, it's two different descriptions that are coming across to the child. So I just wanted to hit on that and give some explanation so people understand that.
Yeah. And it's interesting because as we get older, if you take a look at that, it's like, it's not even, that's not the, whatever we put energy towards that word or towards that thought, it's not even, doesn't have the same weight if we were going to go that direction.
Yeah.
As far as what we're saying right now, when we're an adult looking at it, it's like, oh, well, yeah, my 25-year-old daughter, if she's going to sit on my lap, it's probably going to be, I'm not going to be able to see around me really in front of my face, but it's just like, it's just having a visual of that and having an understanding about it. Like we've used a reference a long time ago of a mom saying, I don't care. It's not that they don't care. They don't have the capacity to give anything else in that moment. It doesn't mean they don't care, but it's, being that adult. And it's like, sometimes maybe you came to them when you're having a struggle or whatever. And it's not that they don't care. It's just they don't have anything else to give because they're already doing so much. But again, that recognition doesn't come until we become the mom or the dad or a caretaker of someone else and recognize how you can feel that you're being pulled in so many different directions. And it really gets back to honoring self, right? It really is. It's just paying attention to how do I feel, and then really looking at things. And it's not, these things just kind of come up. They're just like random things that kind of come up, and you let go of them. It's with grace and ease. It really is. And when I say honor body, it's like, I'm no longer using lotions that you typically would buy. I'm using all natural ingredients. I'm no longer dyeing my hair because I don't want the chemicals. And it's not because I'm like, oh, chemicals. It was interesting because when I made the decision, it was just recently that I made a decision, like I'm done coloring my hair. And when I made that decision, I felt like this joy within inside my body, within inside this vessel. And it was like it was waiting for that to happen, just to allow it to just be. And it's like another part of an aspect of trying to control things, wearing makeup. Since I've quit wearing makeup, I just put I just use certain oils and stuff like that, certain things on my skin now. And it's like if there's any sweating, my eyes aren't burning. If I'm washing my face I'm in the shower and the water's running over me, my eyes aren't burning. It's like all these little things, but we don't pay attention to these things. And we don't realize how much the suit absorbs. It absorbs everything. I was the girl growing up. I had my hands in bleach water all the time. I didn't wear gloves. There was no current concern for that. But then when you think about these vehicles that we're in, we're now inundating like the liver and the kidneys and the brain and the skin, and we're breaking everything down instead of having that longevity. I don't know why I'm going this direction, but I am. It's like everyone is always saying, "Oh, well, probably because my birthday is this month too, right? we're right around our birthday season. So, but it's recognizing. You always hear doctors say, "Oh, it happens with age. The hairdresser, your hair's thinning. It's age." I don't believe that it's age. I believe that the suits have been inundated with heavy metals and all. I mean, and that's we go back to the heavy thing, right? And if I believe that, then that's the case. That's the case if I want to be in the 3D, honestly. But can I rise above all that without having to do anything? Yes, I can. It's not even something to do. So again, I'm catching spirits like talking to me because I'm catching myself trying to control all these things or doing all these certain things, but recognizing that's still not me being in my 5D mindset. It's not me being in that energetic space where it doesn't matter. All this stuff doesn't matter. That's 3D thoughts. That's everything that has a label upon it that matters or has some sort of an effect or control over you. Because again, that's another way that you give out your control to something. If I'm giving my control, like, ooh, I shouldn't be eating sugar, my mom said, or, but it's just not, don't think about what you should or shouldn't be doing. Recognize how it feels in your vessel. That's the guidance. I heard Suzanne Geisman talk about doing heart testing, and I'm like, what the hell is that? I've done body testing, but doing heart testing, and it's like I'm recognizing you just focus on the heart, and then you recognize the feelings that you get from it. Does it feel good or does that feel bad? And it's like if you even for books, because she was talking to, I'm reading, I'm not reading, I'm listening to her most recent book that came out. You'll have to Google it, but she's like talking about for me, I would be putting the book up against my chest in my heart area, and if my heart doesn't feel like it, even though my mind's like, "Ooh, that sounds like a good book," that's gonna take me down the path of mediumship or channeling or gardening or eating better, working out, whatever. But if I do that, I'm gonna recognize exactly my path. I'm still recognizing my path because it's letting me know yes and no with those things. So it's I know, like like all this information. It's like from so many different directions, but we're like on a short time today, and we're gonna drop it out there, guys. We have a lot to look at.
Drop
Get as
it,
much as we
sister. Get
can.
after
That's
it.
right. So a lot of
I
stuff.
mean,
Because it's
when I decided to stop coloring my hair, here was the realization was I would go every 5 weeks, sit there, smelling the chemicals. It was loud in the salon. I'm not a fan of salons. I'm just not. And to sit there, I've had to change my perspective of, they're helping me take care of my hair and keeping it, trimmed up and all the things. But the color would, the chemicals, like for 2 days, my head would itch because it was burning. It was uncomfortable. And I just got to a point, I was just like, I just don't want to do this anymore. This is uncomfortable. I don't like doing it. I'm doing it because of societal reasons. And I was just over it. I'm like, who knows what my natural hair color is? And I'm gonna figure it out. And if I don't like it, I can always go back to coloring it. Like there was options, right?
yeah,
So, um, so it was like I was just done doing something that felt uncomfortable.
and it's feeling like I guess I'm trying to wrap my mind around a lot of this stuff because it's like the no makeup, this all this other stuff, the no gym, the I know that I'm going through a big transition, but it's like it's not putting face value on all of this. That's not the value. I mean, there is value in this. I'm not saying that, but it was like my focus for for gosh many years because I did the bodybuilding, I competed and different stuff. But it's like it's not about all that stuff. That was all. Those were all things of this my little girl wanting to have that attention or lifting the weights was me learning that I needed to protect myself because I was it and it's recognizing that's not always true and I'm not it. I've got a whole freaking team. Some of you guys can probably see them, some of you can't, but they're all around me right now and they're all around each of us. We all have our teams. So it's just like it's the perspective is changing and it's recognizing not everybody's going to see things the way you do. Even in your relationships, there's going to be sometimes you're going to be vibing in a different vibration, and it doesn't mean that that things are bad. It just means that there's a growth that's happening right now, and then it's integrating all that information or that energy afterwards. Because just like you said about the salon, I concur. But it's like going into a lot of those spaces and stuff like that can be a little bit different. Usually you'll have numerous people in a space and a lot of energies, and then people waiting and a lot of their energies and stuff. And it certainly is not a controlled environment like spirit groups or any of that kind of stuff, because you know what you're all coming to. Your classes, you kind of know people have a reason for wanting to be there that's in alignment with your metronome, your gauge that's going off, so that you can you're all going to vibrate higher anyways. But it's just recognizing all those things, and it's not good or bad. It's different. I'm in a different feeling space now, and it's really looking at things and kind of enjoying the feel of them. Really, just feeling a lot of stuff. Music I've never listened to before, would never have listened to before, ever in my lifetime, I'm listening to now because it uplifts me, it fills me up. So it's because now I'm the soul that's going through life and feeling things how they feel for me, and then I'm kind of navigating in that direction of how the way things feel.
Yeah. And I know what you're talking about is the music, because I started listening to so back in the day when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, my family were some of my family was born again Christian, and they only listened to Christian music. Well, this was in 19 like 78, 79, right? So back then the music was way different than it is today. so when my son was about 13, so almost 16 years ago, um he came home one day. He's like, "Mom, you gotta listen to this music. You gotta listen to this." And he said Christian music. And of course, I was just like, "Oh Lord, here we go." It's like, nah. He's like, "No, you gotta listen. It's really cool." And he played me a song by Toby Mac. I don't remember which song it was, but it was by Toby Mac. And I was like, "Well, this is cool." And so then, start he would share with me other songs, and I started listening. So anyway, for the most part, that's what I listen to is the current Christian music, which is uplifting. A lot of it's uplifting. A lot of the words resonate with me. A lot of the there are some songs like, I love most of it, but is some wording that I'm just like, but I'll still listen to it and just kind of glaze over that piece. But yeah, it just the messages now, the messages in these songs really resonate, and they're more vibey and fun, and so I get you.
It's funny you say that because I do the same thing. And this, I was just telling Freeman this morning that I kind of pick and choose what I want to listen to. I can always fast forward, but there are times that if I don't care for the wording that's in it, I'll change it to the wording that I do care for.
I do
So
too.
I'll add words in. That's awesome. Because that's how we create, right? Because those words we're creating with, even when we're singing our hearts out, we're
Yeah,
creating. And it's like, okay, Spirit, bring the words in that you want us to create from. That's what we really want to create from, not what we think that we want to create from.
yeah,
And so it's just, I like that because I do the same. And it's funny, we were just talking about it this morning. So because I told him, I don't know, elevation. I don't know. There's some new group that was sent to me by somebody else, and I'm like, I listened to it, and I was like, wow, this really feels uplifting because it's almost like a choir feel. It's almost like and I love, gosh, you hear some good choirs, and they can move you to tears, and like almost like a symphony, or there's just more stuff that's going on, and it's such a celebration of life. That's what it feels like. It's a celebration.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I know I'm more aware of those words now than I was was before.
Yeah. And being aware of what we feel with those words, right? Before, if I would have used the word God, man, now I say it and I feel like I feel my solar plexus and it goes right, shoots right up to my heart. So it's different because, but I had to walk this path a bit to kind of feel how things were. And for me, it was, I had to go with a different name that it kind of like using a different name opened that doorway. So that now I'm comfortable with that as being said instead of feeling like I have to push away from it. And gosh, when I say that out loud, it's because we've been trained to want to push away from that. And has it been on purpose? Maybe, but it's been a choice for us to take that path or not, right? It's my choice to stay in that space and be like, oh, I don't like the way how you're talking to me. Don't start. Are you preaching at me? And it's like I'm not preaching at you. I'm going to bring forward whatever spirit wants to bring forward right now in this moment for you and for me.
Yeah. And I'm gonna just lay this out there. It's not that I only listen to Christian music or um I'm opposed to any other music because that's their creation and that's what the artists are moving through in themselves. And it's all creation. And it all resonates with somebody at some point on their path. But you will find me in a bar and I will be dancing to country music and having a good time because I love doing that. I love line dancing and couples dance. And so, yeah, you will find me at a bar having a good time. So, just laying that out there. I don't want
I like that. I like that country music too. And there's some of the oldies. It's just, they just have a good feel to them. It's
to,
just some of the newer stuff I don't resonate with so much, and then there is some stuff that I do resonate with. But it is a lot of where I'm at in that moment, and it's again, it's a gauge for me to let me know where I'm at in that moment.
yeah,
I can tell, like if I'm not in a good mood, I'm listening to some stuff that probably isn't. It reflects my not in a good mood. And you know what? It doesn't matter because in that time, it helps. It's still lifting me from one space to another.
right. Yeah, true. Yeah,
Because even though you're singing, even though you're creating, but you're still using that energy. You're busting all this energy through. Like when you feel stifled, or you're not being heard, or you're feeling suppressed. And whatever song even if it's an F word song, you're still opening up that chakra. You're still dumping stuff out, and so it doesn't matter. But as you go, it's gonna change. You're gonna want to go into something else. It's just like when I'm writing my letters that I'm never going to send, or I'm writing out all my emotions on a piece of paper. It starts out like ah, and by the end of it, it's like, and I want to have a new car, and I love God. It just totally shifts but it couldn't shift without having that first part of it to release.
yeah,
In music, I feel like it's such a beneficial role. I tell people all the time that music is like it's and humming. Even if you're going to sit and hum, if you feel like you're being stifled, to sit and hum. It's just interesting. It's interesting how we feel after we do those things, and notice how you feel. One of these Kundalini's um, yogas that I do, she's like during part of it, like you're doing so many things and you're like having to hold yourself so tight and you're having to hold I can't remember what it's called, but it hold all your lower regions up and tight and then pulling in the abdomen and doing all that stuff. But when you're doing it's like so tight. And then afterwards, she has you shaking everything off. And I've done it like 2 or 3 times. And it's like the third time, I'm like, I'm moving in ways that I've never moved before. But then I notice throughout the day that I'm like not affected by things like I normally would be affected by things. I feel like I'm paying attention to things. I'm noticing things. And so things are different for me and it feels different for me. And it feels neutral. It really does and I'm not trying to feel neutral. It just is. So it's just being in those spaces because that really does help shift stuff from your body. None of my clients are picking up on that. I don't think so much. I'm like, you really got to start doing stuff for yourselves. Not because I'm not going to be doing this forever, because this is it. But it's like you guys got to figure it out. You guys got to. If we're always doing something for someone else or always fixing something for someone else, they're never going to figure it out on their own.
yeah,
And guess what? We're not always going to be here. So I'd rather they figure out while I'm here And that goes for my family and friends and kids and, you know, because I don't know how long I'm here, but I'm going to enjoy myself while I'm here.
Right.
Why do we have to have the threat of death for us to recognize that we want to live? So it's like there's all those things, and it's like I've been talking to spirit, like I want to feel that feeling of wanting to live as if we're dying. Because I listen to there's a song that's out there as well,
Mhm.
but it's like it's listening to that stuff and it's feeling that way because it's motivational because it allows you to live fearlessly, and that's really what we're looking for, right? And guess what? We're all going to die. We're not going to stay in these physical bodies. We are not going to die, but these bodies can't last forever. You can't drive the same vehicle from the time that you first start driving to the rest of your life without having all kinds of problems. And it's probably going to be noticeable that it can use some work. But it's because we just don't take care of them like we should, right? We're not changing the oils like we're supposed to. Or we're not maybe washing and waxing all the time, or I don't know, millions of things.
Yeah. And be mindful of when you're taking care of your body, how you're talking to it. I have a had a conversation with a lady the other day who she kept saying she was getting the fat jab, which is a an injection to
Uh,
help you lose weight. And then she proceeds to say, and I've only lost 6 pounds. So I have to keep getting the fat jab. I was like, well, you got to stop talking to yourself like that. It's like, come on. She's like, well, I'm fat. I said, and you keep affirming it. So you're gonna have a difficult time reducing your size because you keep affirming you're fat.
yeah, it's our words that keep us in those spaces, right? And it's really not about that jab. It really isn't. My mind wants to go 3D and be like, you got to be careful because our brains need that cholesterol. We need fats in our bodies. So it's just recognizing it's you can't put a band-aid on things,
Yeah.
right? We've talked about before, they talked about there's been this thing about med beds and or even let's just go back to the conversation with Jesus. Jesus would come in and heal and say, go forward and tell no one about this stuff. You don't go forward and start talking about it and reiterating and bringing it all back into the focal point. Now it's back into your full experience. When you just let go of it a few minutes ago, now you just brought it all back. And it's all this the same thing. It's the same with Jesus, the med beds, the jabs, the whatever. If you're not doing the internal for yourself, then it's not gonna, you're not gonna have the outcomes that you want to have.
Yeah. Yep. I hear you. I hope everybody else is hearing that because you, yeah, I mean, be, I'm going to imagine that this is just another process of it's a temporary fix. I'm going to get this shot. It's going to help me reduce my size. Then when I'm at the size that I want to be, then I stop doing it. And then the weight comes back on, if not more. It's the cycle. It happens. It has happened to most everybody who has um, uh, did any kind of diet program and has done zero or hardly any internal shifting. And then they'll say, how many times have you heard it? Yeah, I did this program. It was great as long as I was on it. But when I got off of it, I gained more weight than I was before I started. I hear that over and over and over. And it's the temporary fix. The, and we it's an internal process. There's an internal process that has to be done as well, along with whatever external thing you're depending on.
So it's in my mind, I'm seeing it. It's everything's a distraction. All it's a distraction from dealing with these emotions. So I've told people recently, I don't know if we talked about it, but I've talked about it because I have an understanding of it now. Um, I don't even use addiction's not even, it's not true. We don't know how to deal with our emotions. I quit smoking pot a month ago. I think it's been a month now. Again, right? I've done this a few times. We can probably go back a few videos and probably find out that because I thought, you know what, I got this. But then I started recognizing that the reason that I would smoke it for me recently, a lot of the times I would go smoke it is because I didn't know how to deal with the emotions that I was dealing with. I did not know how to, so that I could go do that and it could take the edge off, or it would distract me from dealing with my own emotions. And so now I recognize this, I've got to sit in those fields right now. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with smoking pot. There's nothing wrong with it. Anyone that wants to do it, feel free. But for me, I know that was a distraction from dealing with my emotions. I don't know for sure, but I could pretty much have a pretty good guess that that was probably a lot of Jim's drinking of the alcohol. Was he didn't know how to deal with these emotions. We grow up to these ages and we made it this far, right? But that just means we knew how to distract ourselves really well to get to a lot of these places. And it's just recognizing a lot of times we're just using the weight or the marijuana or the relationship or the new vehicle, all of it. It's just a temporary fix, is like you say, it's just put throwing a band-aid on things. But it's because we don't know how to deal with ourselves. Like, and that's been the conversation forever. People don't know how to be with themselves, right? Because we don't know how to deal with these emotions. We haven't learned how to deal with those emotions. We learned how to navigate in a world that you could get things immediately and it can be satisfying, and it distracted you from having to have any of these feelings. So we have generations of people not feeling things. We have generations of people putting on a false front, a smile on their face, even though they weren't happy. You know, putting on a premise. It takes me back to the cleaver. We meet the cleavers, right? Having the pearls on and the dress and high heels and vacuuming the floors. It's like that all that stuff was for show, but it's like for me, like going back to the where we came from for this conversation, it's like not worrying about dyeing the hair, not worrying about having the makeup on. I still wear mascara because I like it. But it takes me like 5 minutes to do anything, brush my teeth, brush my hair, put on some cream. It and I will get back to, I do work out here, kinda. Nothing like I was focused, but it was like it was all distracting me from dealing with these emotions that are inside of me. So now I'm handling these emotions, and when I don't know what to do with them, I have you to reach out to, so I can say things out loud and I can process it. I've got spirit talking to me all the time. I talked to you, I think the last time, and I said I kept seeing all this stuff say spread your wings and fly, or spread your wings. We did our 12-month reading and I had pulled it up. I was like, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this. And I look at May, and my card that I had pulled, that was my extra card, says spread your wings. I'm like, I don't even know what to say about this stuff. And it's like, and it's also letting spirit know when we don't know, what does that really mean? What does spread your wings really mean? What does that really mean? And it's like, not what does it mean to everybody else, but what does it mean to me? What's the message that's coming to me for this? And I couldn't get there if I'm still focused on the jab or the gym or running around, because that's what I was doing, was running around on a hamster wheel all the time. And it's taken me some time to really not stack everything up because I'm in town and get this done and this done and this done and this done real quick. And the next thing you know, the day is gone. And it's like real quick, I didn't get to enjoy the day. So there's a lot of processing going on, but it really has a lot to do with dealing with these emotions that we have within ourselves, and asking spirit, like, okay, well, I feel this way, but I don't know what to do with it. Okay, I don't know how I'm supposed to move from this, but I'm tired of feeling like this. So it's just like that ask for help, right? When we put that ask for help out, man, it comes every time.
Yep. I did that the other day. I was just in a funky mood. I wasn't sad. I wasn't happy. I was just like, you know, and I said it out loud. I'm like, I'm just in a funky mood. And then things start happening and stuff started shifting. And by the end of the day, or midday, really, I felt a lot better. So it was just like, maybe sometimes you just gotta voice it out, right? And say it out loud as an
And
acknowledgement.
it's all
This is
right.
how I'm feeling.
Yeah. And it's all right to get mad. I was at the ballpark the other day, and a parent close to me was getting all over a little that was close to me, and because he had said shit, um, at the ballpark, and it was brought over to the parents from the coach from this thing, and it was going to be processed. And then it's like all this anger came forward. It's like, as we're sitting here, I'm processing this. I know that I'm sensitive, right? Super sensitive. I can say that, but I'm creating when I say that. But as soon as that the parent went with the child and had a conversation with them, and then came back, and it's like, well, when we get home, this is what's going to happen. And like major punishment, like all the toys are taken away, the whatever, spanking, soap in the mouth, numerous things like, and it wasn't the words that were being said, it was the anger. And I felt all that, but I could sit here and say, before I could say, well, I'm picking up on their energy and whatever, path of least resistance. If I'm picking up on the energy, it's because I've got all this anger inside of me still. And instead of me vomiting all this shit that would have probably came out of my mouth in the past, because it would have, I all I heard in my head was go. And I just mid game, right? We're halfway through the game. And I just picked up my stuff and I left. Handed the baby over and peace out. I'm going. And it's because I just couldn't, I knew that I couldn't stay there. And then it presented an opportunity for an apology to family, but it presented an opportunity to one of the littles. So I got to talk to the little and express myself and say, sometimes we pick up on people's energies because it was an opportunity. Because I know that when we go to school, because that was for me, that was not a good place to be, because I didn't realize how much we pick up on everybody else's energies, because we learned that from early on when we came in here. That was part of our navigation, and we've been doing it always, guys. So if you think it's hard, it's not. You've always been doing it. Now it's just paying attention to the gauges. But I remember being in that space, and I remember talking to this little and telling, it's paying attention that sometimes the feelings that we're feeling are not our feelings. But now I'm realizing, as we're having the conversation, again, it's path of least resistance. So if I'm doing this Kundalini yoga, right, and it's moving this energy, or regular yoga and it's moving this energy, now it has a pathway to come out. I can free up, and now that was a perfect opportunity for it to flow from me. And I didn't do the same things that I did in the past. And I didn't feel bad about saying, hey, I'm sorry I left mid game. It won't happen again. Next time I'll walk around, I'll know how to process it. But at that particular moment, I didn't know what to do. And my path was just to do exactly what I did. And I didn't beat myself up about it. I started to, but then I stopped and was like, no, I can't. I can't, because then I keep myself in this cycle. And I've got to be able to embrace that and know. So thank you. And know that there was a reason for all that. And I catch myself because I don't want to say, well, it was her anger or it was his anger or whatever, because that's placing blame again. That's again taking outside of myself and putting it onto someone else. It's the jab, it's the gym, it's the car, it's the whatever, right? I'm putting something outside of me, but now I get to sit here and recognize it was just an allowance for me to let go of that energy. I didn't need that energy.
Yeah. And it's just, that's a discernment, right? It's just learning to navigate within yourself these different situations. And it's not to me, we're human, and we're here to be in the presence of other people, to help other people, to associate with other people. So a solution might be to become a hermit, but that is not serving the purpose of being in the physical body, to my uh to my belief system as I speak this. um so it's learning to get better and better, right? It's just learning to be in the presence of other people no matter how they show up. And yeah, like you said, you not blaming them for the way you're feeling. I'm feeling
Yeah,
this because something's going on within me and I have to
yeah,
navigate that. That's up to me. And
yeah.
so it's just a learning process, and we have lots and lots of opportunities to practice.
That's right. And it's getting to know yourself, right? That goes back all the way to the conversation that you talked about it's getting to know ourselves. And it's like, why are these things there? Because a lot of stuff we compartmentalized. We didn't know what to do with all these emotions and these feelings and stuff. And we put them into certain spaces and within our beings, our vessels, just like it's our house. We just kind of stuffed it here, stuffed it there, swept it under the rug over there. And now it's just like, it's the opportunity for all that stuff. We're doing house cleaning. If we want to look at it in a different way, we're cleaning house and it feels good. It feels lighter. And anyone should know that. Well, I shouldn't say should. Anyone could recognize that if you take the time to clean your house and then you step back, it actually is brighter
Right.
when you take the time to look at it. It feels better. You feel good to sit down in that space.
And the saying is, I believe Louise Hay said this, was in order to clean your house, you have to see the dirt.
Preach it, sister. But
First
it's
time,
true.
first time I heard that, I mean, it was beginning of my journey. I was just like, well, son of a gun. And that's probably not the words I said. I probably said, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
So yeah. Any final words? We're gonna wrap this up. We have Mother's Day today, and I have a date. So excited. And one of my things is going out and being out in nature, and we're gonna go to the wild animal park. So I'm excited about that. And
Awesome.
that's just that's good for me and my soul. So I want to go do that.
I would say get to know yourselves.
Yeah.
Everybody out there, get to know yourself. See what makes you tick.
Yeah, be curious. This is what I say, be curious about yourself, because you've got so much stuff going on within you that you don't even understand, and you're too focused on other people and distracted with all the distractions. Like, be curious about yourself. Why do you feel this? Why are you feeling this way? What emotions are you processing? What things are your what's words are being talked in your head and you're giving attention to? Or how can you shift that? Like, there's so much going on in my package. Like, I have taken um I have put more attention on me than I did on other people trying to fix them.
Awesome. I love it. And happy Mother's Day to all of you
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah. So um thanks for hanging out with us. Tea Time with Amy and Bev. We do this because it's our own therapy, and the conversations are beneficial for other people. So if you find that you got some value out of this conversation, please share it with your friends or family, or at least have the conversations yourselves. Share the video or the content, or you start having the conversations. However it works for you, whatever you feel comfortable with. Um, we're all over the place. We're on YouTube, where you can watch the videos. We're on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict. We also post in Facebook the videos too. So there's no excuse. You can find us all over. We're everywhere.
Thanks to Amy. So thank you.
All right, my friends. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. And we will see you next time.
Bye.